Good evening, class. My name is Jonathan Tomlinson, and this is my cost of operations summary discussion board. All right, so what are the costs involved in owning an aircraft? That's the big question everybody wants to know. How much do I owe? So with owning an aircraft, there's two main categories. You have your fixed costs and your variable costs. So, just as they sound, your fixed costs tend to stay the same. You'll pay those at a yearly basis, and they're, like I said, typically the same number. Your variable costs, however, fluctuate depending on what specifically it needs to be either replaced or purchased. So you can see here under variable costs, you have your parts and labor, engine reserves, APU reserves, avionics reserves, and propeller reserves. So you never know when something's going to go wrong. That's kind of like what this category is for, just to have your backups, have your insurance, and be ready for when you have to replace those items. And then under your fixed cost, you have your salary. So under salary, you got your captain, first officer, your maintenance crew, and then that kind of can just keep branching off depending on how big your flight department is and how many people you need to hire. Then you have your crew training. So there's a lot of costs involved in that, but that's a very important portion of the flight department. And insurance. So you have your hull insurance, your liability insurance, and your hangar / your office. Typically they're obviously combined. And then other services and support. Costs tend to change depending on how much you use the aircraft. So if you use the aircraft a lot more, you'll pay more in maintenance and repairs compared to if you don't use it as much. And you'll save money on insurance if you have a good safety training program and experienced pilots. Just some stuff to think about there, and it's also worth investing money into your safety program due to that. And you can also get a hangar that can also have office space for your aviation crew. So we have our 4 aircraft here: the Honda Jet Elite, the Praetor 500, Nextent 400 XTI, and the Citation Latitude. So when we take those 4 aircraft and we compare their fixed cost and their variable cost, this is the graph that we were able to populate. So you can see that the Honda Jet Elite and the Nextent 400 XTI are the 2 lower priced aircraft, and the Praetor 500 and Citation Latitude are the 2 higher priced aircraft. The 2 higher priced aircraft are pretty neck and neck, but there's a pretty big difference with the fixed costs between the Honda Jet and the Nextent 400. You can tell that it's significantly less fixed cost a year there. I found that was pretty interesting. And then the variable costs, like I said, they're pretty much neck and neck with all 4 of the aircraft there in their respective categories. And I did notice there's a direct correlation between the price of the aircraft and the operational cost. So the more expensive the aircraft, the more it costs to operate, which makes sense, but it's very nicely laid out here. Liberty Mining in aggregate travels approximately 104,783 miles every year with the Oklahoma expansion. That's company-wide, so it's quite a bit of miles there, but it's pretty average with your standard corporate aviation. The faster the aircraft can travel, it will yield fewer yearly hours on the aircraft, which in return will reduce the hourly cost. So, if you think about it, if you have to travel 1,000 miles and the aircraft, goes a little bit faster than this other aircraft, you're going to reach those 1,000 miles in a shorter amount of time. Therefore, you have less hours on the engine, and that'll save money in your operating costs. The average yearly travel hours between the selected aircraft for the company is 279 hours. So, approximately every year, that company will travel about 300 hours on their aircraft. So that's what they'll be paying for. Alright, so here we took all 4 aircraft and tallied up their total yearly operating costs. So you can see on the graph here, the Nextant 400 XTI scored the lowest. So that, they have the lowest operating costs, and the Citation Latitude is up there in the highest with just over $2,500,000 a year to operate. Excuse me. So with the Nextant 400 XTI, it was, like I said, the lowest yearly operating cost, and it was also the second best choice from our previous discussion board. So I found that interesting because the Praetor 500 was our top choice for what would fit the company best based on what they deemed important to the company. However, finances were also important to the company, and as you can see here, the Nextant 400 XTI is about over 2 times cheaper than the Praetor 500 in yearly operating costs. So I think that'll definitely play a big factor in that. So here's just some bullet points on what the flight department should share with the boss. And the kind of relationship that they should have. So the mission of the flight department, that's really important to share with the company and to also align with what the company has in mind to create longevity of the flight department. So for instance, here you got like safety and efficiency. Obviously safety is always number one in aviation, so that's always good to add in there. And what resources are required. So what do you need from the company to operate? So again, some examples are hangar, office supplies, access to company computers, maybe some extra funds for your training department, whatever it may be that you need specifically. Also, you definitely want to set up a monthly meeting schedule to discuss the flight department's success and how to mitigate failures if and when they happen. Provide the executives with our standards and explain them. So if our certain aircraft can't operate on more than or less than 3,000 foot runway, then explain that to them. So when they're choosing destinations, they may say, oh, there's an airport right here, but when you let them know like you can't operate out of that airport due to your minimums. Also weather, what the flight department is comfortable operating in, what the legal limits are, and your fuel requirements, things of that nature, just so they're on board with how you have to make your decisions and why. Also how the flight department can grow, so what your future goals might be, how they align with the company's goals, and how you can help the company reach their goals and grow as well. A big thing too is explaining how there's other uses for the business aviation jet, such as you can transport parts, packages, utilize it to bring in VIP guests, just to show them that there's more uses than just hauling around the executive officers to their meetings. All right, and here's my works cited. Thank you for watching.